Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for tuning in. Eric H526, Luke St. Martin, thank you for being amazing moderators. We have an excellent show this evening and a lot to talk about. Go to 270 to win, everybody. Go to 270 to win, and you can see something very interesting. Now, in 2016, this is why the Trump-Russia myth was so absurd. And this is why the hoax and myth, or whatever you want to call it, the nonsense that, well, people voted for Trump because of racism or these, he's a demagogue. He utilizes negative and base emotions to get votes. Well, if that's the case, if he's this nefarious, insidious con man that people just shouldn't believe, why is he going to win re-election after having won Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania? Wisconsin hadn't voted for a Republican since 1984. Michigan and Pennsylvania hadn't voted for a Republican since 1988. All three states voted for, Bill Clinton. They voted for me twice. They voted for Bill Clinton twice and President Obama twice. So you ask yourself, why did they vote for President Trump? Well, one reason was that he promised to address the trade imbalance and other issues pertaining to trade, other economic issues with China. Whether it was intellectual property or dumping of steel or unfair trade practices, those issues, those economic issues, were important to people in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. Okay? Now, you look at Minnesota, and you have 6 Minnesota Democratic mayors endorsed President Trump because Joe Biden did nothing to help the working class. Ladies and gentlemen, Clinton will be on that debate stage and across that ballot if they have any hope of making it. But my prediction still stands. I am telling you, they are not serious. All they need is a meeting saying, look, Trump is now tied in battleground states. And we need Madam Secretary to save the Democratic Party. But here, 6 Minnesota Democrats and 1 former independent mayor have endorsed President Trump for re-election after claiming that Democratic presidential hopeful Joe Biden hasn't done anything to help working class people. In a letter dated Friday, 6 mayors from Minnesota's Iron Range, named for their iron ore mining districts, said they were supporting Trump over Biden and after having voted Democrat in the past. The letter signers were Harbor's Mayor Chris Swanson, Virginia Mayor Larry Cuff, and Chisholm Mayor John Ciampa, Eli Mayor Chuck Novak, Eveleth Mayor Robert Vysavljevic, and Babbitt Mayor Andrea Zupanchik also signed the letter. They claim they were supporting President Trump because Joe Biden didn't help the working class while he was in office. They said that Trump's 2016 election was something wonderful that happened. And we can go on, ladies and gentlemen. This is absolutely fantastic. Like many in our region, we have voted Democrat over many decades, the letter stated. Let's read the entire letter. Here's the letter. This is interesting. This is really great. This is really, really, really great. And it's amazing. By the way, to my super chat, thank you. I don't have $20 million in venture capital funding like some channels, but I just thank you very much. You allow me to do this, these live streams, and you allow me to remain independent, and just thank you. Thank you very, very much. But here, fellow Americans, this is August 28, 2020, by 6 mayors in Minnesota. Fellow Americans, as Greater Minnesota mayors from Democratic cities on the Iron Range of Minnesota, we write today to formally endorse the re-election of President Donald J. Trump and Vice President Mike Pence. Like many in our region, we have voted Democrats. We have voted for Democrats over many decades. We have watched as our constituents' jobs left not only the Iron Range, but our country by putting tariffs on our products and supporting bad trade deals. Politicians like Joe Biden did nothing to help the working class. We lost thousands of jobs, and generations of young people have left the Iron Range in order to provide for their families with good-paying jobs elsewhere. Today, we don't recognize the Democratic Party. It has been moved so far to the left, it can no longer claim to be advocates of the working class, which is very true. Well, I'll continue. The hardworking Minnesotans that built their lives and supported their families here on the range have been abandoned by radical Democrats. We didn't choose to leave the Democratic Party. The party left us. Yet 4 years ago, something wonderful happened. Donald J. Trump was elected president of the United States, and he stood up to China, implemented tax cuts, and fought for the working class. Now, 4 years later, the Iron Range is soaring back to life. And for the first time in a very long time, locals are hopeful because of this president's policies and willingness to fight for us. Lifelong politicians like Joe Biden are out of touch with the working class, out of touch with what the country needs, and out of touch with those of us here on the Iron Range and in small towns like ours across our nation. In this election, there is a lot at stake, but the biggest risk is our jobs, our economy, and our way of life. President Trump delivered the best economy in our nation's history, and President Trump will deliver for us again. He will continue to fight for every American, regardless of party affiliation, and continue to stand up for the working class. Today we write to formally endorse President Donald J. Trump and Vice President Mike Pence for 4 more years. 4 more years. 4 more years. Larry Cuff, John Ciampa, Chuck Novak, Chris Swanson, Robert Vlisavjevic, and Andrea Zupancic. Hope I'm pronouncing their names correctly. But ladies and gentlemen, it's like you have a situation where Democrats are completely clueless. They rely on this kind of Twitter, social media type, socialist, AOC type message. Oh yeah, this is like, Amazon's not paying taxes. It's like, well, according to one estimate, there would have been 100,000 direct and indirect jobs just from the 25,000 that were ready to be sent to New York. 25,000 Amazon employees that would come from New York and perhaps elsewhere. But the headquarters would be big enough to fit 40,000 people. This is according to an article, a USA Today article, or an article from a publication associated with USA Today. 100,000. Just think about it really, really quickly. AOC's the biggest claim to fame was kicking out Amazon from New York City. Okay. Just really quickly, and we'll get back to this. That's 100,000 direct and indirect jobs. And by New York's own estimate, it was $27.5 billion in tax revenue. All right? So this is an article really quickly. This is a great article. Study relies on big assumptions. So what? It's Amazon. They're always growing. The Democrats commissioned a study in the new, this is de Blasio and Cuomo. This is their own political party commissioned a study. Albany, New York isn't taking a conservative approach to how many jobs it's expecting Amazon to bring to New York City. In fact, it's just the opposite. The state's estimate that Amazon's newly planned Queens headquarters would bring in $27.5 billion in new taxes. $27.5 billion. So let's say it was $20 billion. Let's say it was $15 billion. You don't want $15 billion in tax revenue? Forget about the tax revenue. This is an article in the Democrat and Chronicle by John Campbell, Albany Bureau, November 15th, 2018. I did a segment on this when it happened. We'll get back to, really quickly, Minnesota in just 1 second, and this is the epitome of how Democrats just spit on the working class, and it's especially certain progressive politicians. They're so clueless, it's unbelievable. So this is a Democrat and Chronicle article. The state's estimate, this is the Democrats ran this study, okay? They commissioned this study. Cuomo did. Okay, the state's estimate that Amazon's newly planned Queens headquarters would bring in $27.5 billion. $27.5 billion in new tax revenue is based on the tech giant hiring 40,000 people, but they were initially going to hire 25,000, and the Amazon executives said, look, it was built for 40,000 anyway, so you're going to get 40,000, but who cares if it's just 20 or 15 billion? Who does it matter? The economic impact would be positive because it would generate wealth for people in restaurants, in food trucks, retail chains, dry cleaners, union work, you name it. You name it. And the median income, well, we could go on forever here, 60% more than the minimum the company committed to. Yeah, again, but they actually stated as a rebuttal to AOC, it was built for 40,000 people. They would have been built for 40,000 people. Anyway, Governor Andrew Cuomo's administration commissioned a study in October. The findings were significant, helping to justify a $3 billion taxpayer-backed subsidies. But the subsidies are there for economic growth. It's like the study estimated $14 billion in new tax revenue alone over the next 25 years, separate from New York City's estimate of $13.5 billion in new city revenue. So they pay up the wazoo, just like LA and California. So they would have gotten taxed, city tax and then state tax. The state-backed analysis, however, is based on huge assumptions. So what? So what? What, the assumption that Amazon keeps growing? I wonder how many thousands of dollars progressive Congress people or progressives in general spend on Amazon every year/month sometimes, depending on how wealthy a person is. But here, no, every year. But here, the major online retailer and cloud computing giant would bring 40,000 jobs over 15 years to its New York headquarters. So, in actuality, Amazon is committed to bring 25,000 jobs over 10 years, while dangling the possibility, not a firm pledge, of another 15,000 5 years later. Well, they keep growing. So So what was by focusing only on 40,000 jobs, the study pushed the revenue estimate much higher. So what? It was still a win-win. It was still a win-win. So what? Amazon will pay HQ2 employees an average of $150,000 a year, which is not a tremendous amount in New York, but it's still like they keep talking living wage. Well, they're going to pay $150,000 a year. Congrats. That's just fantastic. Congratulations. So, that's just an example, okay? That is just an example of the idiocy. That's just an example of, like, the way you get, and here you have, this is interesting too. This is actually the most interesting part of the entire study. Wow. Ari Maccabee! I am trying to get my contractor's license for Baltimore, Maryland. They are forcing me to wait over 2 months. They don't answer my emails. Wow. See? It's unbelievable. Ari Maccabee, thank you. And you want to actually build houses or build, properties, and you want to actually help. You probably have a crew of people, and, Democratic run state. It's like impossible to, but this is Ari, and this is something that is, in all, the study estimates, in all, this is where the brilliance, the sheer genius of AOC and the socialist economic mentality comes into play. It's absolute. Not since Einstein have we seen such absolute genius. In all, the study estimates the Amazon headquarters would create more than 107,000 direct and indirect jobs and add $186 billion to the gross state product. I would say we were trying to play it as down the middle as we could. This is the people who were commissioned to write the study. We wanted to come up with the most reasonable estimates that we could, using the data that we had and our modeling software. Well, I mean, Amazon continues to grow. So it's not that, but I'm just here. I mean, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. And this is just a microcosm. So you had Democrats led by a wonderful, amazing, progressive politician who forced out a deal that would, quote, in all, the study estimates that the Amazon headquarters would create more than 107,000 direct and indirect jobs. But see, that's not as alluring. That's not as electric. That's not as emotional as living wage. You want a living wage? So 107,000 direct and indirect jobs and $186 billion in gross state product, and you get $150,000 a year for Amazon, for the average Amazon employees, and it was going to go to from 25,000 Amazon employees that got an average of $150,000 a year. And they kicked it out, and they kicked them all out. You showed Amazon. Oh my God, they're shivering in their boots now. You showed Amazon. So it's like, Then you have USA Today. It may not be HQ2, but AOC declares victory and trolls Amazon over New York expansion. That you still didn't get the 102,000, which it would accommodate 1,000 instead of 25,000 employees. She annoyed Amazon to the point where they're like, okay, here's 1,500 employees instead of 25,000. And then you have of course, you have 100,000 people or hundreds of thousand people who, me waiting on the haters to apologize after we were proven right on Amazon and saved the public billions. No, you didn't. You cost the public billions. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Cuomo himself commissions a study. He's like, please come to New York. De Blasio, they're all like, please. We have 107,000 direct and indirect jobs, billions upon billions in revenue, $186 billion in gross state product, and this is dependent on 40,000 jobs, which Amazon was going to build a headquarters that initially held 25,000 employees, making an average of 150 grand. And their pledge was to go from 25,000 to 40,000. And then the Democrat writes, me waiting on the haters to apologize after we were proven right on Amazon saved the public billions. You cost the public billions, but of course, this sentiment is retweeted 1 trillion times. Meanwhile, you have 1,500 jobs that it's not the headquarters. It's a tiny fraction of what could have taken place because you annoyed Amazon to the point where they're like, you know what, forget this. And now you have people and jobs and business owners leaving New York just like they're leaving Los Angeles. But this is a microcosm of what takes place. This is exactly what takes place. I have a segment here that I did in February of 2019. Here's the segment. Bucolic Buffalo! H.A. Badman, Bucolic Buffalo, thank you very, very much. Thank you, Bucolic Buffalo. Thank you very, very, very much. So Democrats, the most progressive, the wonderful rose icon, socialist, fantastic, morally superior politicians prevented 107,000 direct and indirect jobs, $27 billion in tax revenue, and $186 billion in gross state product. But at least they won because they got 1,500 employees without a tax break as opposed to 40,000. This is the mentality. This is the mentality. And it's not like you're giving them billions. It's it's an incentive to actually open up the business. But they have no concept. This is why when you brag and you boast, you're like, I used to be a bartender. Like, that's good. That's why you don't understand why. That's why you have no clue why 107,000 direct and indirect jobs is a good thing. You don't understand. That's why, yeah. That's why even de Blasio and Cuomo are like, no! But there you go. That's the Democratic Party. That's why in the long term, you don't understand that you would have gotten $186 billion in gross state product. Your economy would have grown for everyone. And you would have gotten over $27 billion in tax revenue, and you would have gotten 40,000 New Yorkers with 150 grand salaries. But forget about that. You won. Just believe that you won. as long as you show them, you showed them. Bucolic Buffalo! Thank you again, Bucolic Buffalo. And then you have, ladies and gentlemen, this is exactly why Trump is on his way to winning Minnesota. In addition to all the wonderful, peaceful, very, very peaceful protests in Wisconsin, which I'm just wondering why there aren't any million to 3 million sub liberal progressive channels, or I'm just wondering why aren't they live streaming and engaging in the peaceful endeavors at 12 and 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning in Wisconsin or Oregon, or I'm just wondering why that is. If President Trump is just trying to, William Barr is they're acting like authoritarians. Well, then why don't they show up and show how peaceful everything is? I'm not a fan of sending federal officers, primarily because I think it's a trap. If you have a Democratic governor and Democratic mayor that wants to tank their entire city and state, then let them do it. And I understand the mentality, well, you have to defend federal property, but Bucolic Buffalo, Valerie Rogers, I wish. Valerie, thank you. Tammy Eaton. And I like to study that kind of. Tammy Eaton. Tammy, thank you. Hope all is well. Tammy, thank you. Valerie, thank you. Bucolic Buffalo, thank you. But here, that's the mentality. They are totally. They don't have any respect, any understanding or respect or care or concern for economic growth. Yes, you need a social safety net. Yes, you need you need the state, you need government to take care of its most vulnerable. To a large extent or a certain extent, yeah, it's true. But that doesn't, the mentality stops there. It's like, you talk about a living wage, but even if you raise the minimum wage, that's not going to ensure a living wage. You want people to have good paying jobs. You kicked 40,000 good paying jobs out of New York, and then you claimed a victory because they came back with a tiny fraction, like a little over 1,000 jobs. And this is why the mayors in Wisconsin are like, look, you know what? And the rebuttal is always, the tariffs aren't showing immediate positive economic impact. Like, well, yeah, that is because you've had, 30 years of a playing field that wasn't fair? You had 30 years of allowing trade practices that weren't fair. The point is, in about 30 years, we will be the third largest economy in the world. We will not even be close to being first. India will surpass us, and China will far surpass us. We'll be third. This is all the forecasts, and I'm not really like enamored with like UN studies but this is very true. This isn't a UN study. This is I think we have a little bit more than 11 years left before irreversible climate change. But luckily, in the past 10 years, Democrats, according to Vox, came out with their only one major climate change bill. And by the way, the Green New Deal resolution was also a nice public relations stunt. It wasn't. They didn't even vote on it. They didn't even vote on it for it to become law in the Senate because they were petrified. Why don't they talk about the Green New Deal now? That ought to help them with Wisconsin and Michigan and Pennsylvania. What's the problem, Democrats? Oh, that's right. You are never serious about it. You just talk a lot. They're like they have the media on their side. So when they say Trump lies, they've lied infinitely more than Trump. Trump never worked with Russia. Attorney General Loretta Lynch never met with Bill Clinton to speak about golf brags and grandchildren. When they're not overtly lying, like Trump working with Russia, they then expect you to believe the most absurd nonsense. Well, it was for convenience. And I didn't know my Secretary of State had private servers for 4 years. I had no clue. Then they lie about just emails, huh? I voted for the email lady. Hey, that's why you lost again, but don't worry, you have another chance. Madam Secretary will save the day. She's the only chance they have. I'll end up making the biggest political call of all time. And there's no emphasis on you have a chance, what are you going to do? Then there are studies, you have to move, you have to create housing in wealthier areas and move people in impoverished areas into wealthier areas. So you've given up on the impoverished areas? It's the Democrats they're not even pretending anymore. They're like, look, we can't even do it. We're just going to give up because we have presided over poverty, impoverished communities or areas where there's no jobs. And it's been our responsibility for the past 30 to 40 years to bring jobs into locations that vote for us. Areas of the state or areas of a city or a state or the country, regions of the country that always vote for us. And just like Democrats have the highest unemployment rates, the largest Democratic-run states, Illinois, New York, New Jersey, have the highest unemployment rate. Go to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. You can go to the Bureau of Labor Statistics right now. This is why they lie when they say it's when they try to infer that it's President Trump's fault. And so hold on, labor. Unemployment. There's no greater lie than to say that, well, we have our economy is in peril and it's all because of Trump. It's like, well, he didn't shut down. He hasn't shut down states going on. I can't get a haircut. Do you understand? I cannot get a haircut. I can't go. You can't even go inside a restaurant. Hummer News Network. There would be no Democratic Party if people weren't willing to be victims and were self-sufficient and practice personal accountability. Thank you, Hummer News Network. Thank you. Hummer News Network, everyone here, all 746 people. We're growing, ladies and gentlemen. We're growing. Here it is. You can go to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. July 2020. Here's the link. When they say, this country, our economy, well, not every state has the same unemployment rate. You want to know the best? You want to know the states that have the least unemployment? All red states. Utah, 4.5% unemployment. Nebraska, 4.8%. Idaho, 5.5% unemployment. Kentucky, 5.7%. South Dakota, 6.4%. Montana, 6.4%. I mean, generally, that's still high, but, just wait. Iowa, 6.6%. North Dakota, 6.6%. Missouri, 6.9%. You want to know the highest unemployment rates in the country? The absolute highest unemployment rates? Massachusetts, generally a blue state, votes blue all the time, 16.1. Just ask Elizabeth Warren why Massachusetts has a 16% unemployment rate. That would be a great question to ask. Do you want to know? It will never be asked by anyone. It will never be asked of Elizabeth Warren, who's very big into economic justice. But it will never, ever, ever be asked. Why does Massachusetts have a 16% unemployment rate and Missouri have a 6.9% unemployment, or Arkansas have 7. Oh, that's right, Arkansas has a 7.1% unemployment rate. This is, you can go to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, July 2020. Massachusetts, New York, 15.9% unemployment. New Jersey, 13.8% unemployment. Pennsylvania, 13.7% unemployment. All blue states. New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, California, 13.1% unemployment. Hawaii, 13.1% unemployment. Illinois, 11.3% unemployment. And you wonder why the notion of protecting a business from people who just want to absolutely tear it apart and destroy it late at night when you don't have any wonderful left-leaning YouTubers. Where are these people? Why can't you get your favorite progressive YouTuber who said vote for Clinton in 2016? Why can't you get them to go into Wisconsin or Oregon or Washington or Illinois at 3 a.m. in the morning to videotape the peaceful expression of our First Amendment rights? Because they're cowards and they're liars, just like the Democratic Party. They wouldn't risk their well-being, and nor should they. I'm obviously being sarcastic. They know very well. This is one of the reasons that Minnesota is going Trump. They know very well that at 2 in the morning, 1 in the morning, you have businesses being not only you want to know what Oregon's unemployment rate is? 10.6%. Okay? Oregon's unemployment rate is 10.4%. Illinois' unemployment rate is 11.3%. Okay? Yet that doesn't stop anyone from continuing to destroy businesses. It's pretty unbelievable the disdain, the absolute disdain they have for making money. Old school dad, man. Welcome to the H.A. Goodman Show. Trump leading in every legitimate poll. Exactly. Well, you know what? He's tied now in swing states. They need Madam Secretary. And we're just waiting, because old school dad, man, this does not make any sense to me. This does not make any sense to me at all. I just don't see this. Eric, I didn't. Dave, thank you, Dave. I did not see that super chat. Dave, thank you very, very much. Eric, thank you. Old school dad man. It doesn't feel like an election to me. But old school dad man, how does Massachusetts have a 16.1% unemployment rate? You have Elizabeth Warren, and Utah has a 4.5% unemployment. I thought Elizabeth Warren was all about economic justice. How does Kentucky, the awful libertarian Rand Paul, who's at the forefront of criminal justice, the people who try to go after Rand Paul have to be like the dumbest people on the planet. He's at the forefront of criminal justice reform and legislation ending no-knock raids And it's inspired by the murder of Breonna Taylor. But don't tell that to the passionate left. They're so passionate. Oh my God, they're so passionate. But Oregon has a 10.4% unemployment rate. And then they say that, well, this is Trump's America. It's like, no, Trump's America, the red states are doing actually a million times better. 4.5% unemployment. Utah, Kansas, 7.2% unemployment. Missouri, 6.6%. Iowa, 6.6%. Montana, 6.6%. Texas has an 8% unemployment rate. That's high, but it's not 16%. Blue states lead the nation in unemployment, and then they lead the nation in violence in the middle of the night, peaceful violence. The notion, like David Dorn, God bless his memory, protecting a friend's business, not even his business, a over 70-year-old, honorable, beautiful human being, a black man who was a former police captain who was murdered. And CNN and MSNBC, my God, you never hear about these stories. I wonder why. Protecting his friend's livelihood. Like, they don't have a concept of, like, they're like, well, the government has to give you money. Well, yeah, you do need stimulus checks, fine, but what all, you can still you force states to close down under the pretext of, well, we have to do it for your own good. And then you keep what New York and California close to 40% of the US economy. That's close to 40% of US GDP. And then I just showed you, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, Massachusetts has a 16% unemployment rate. You have New Jersey and New York, similar unemployment rates. Illinois is up there also. You have states run by Democrats that have the highest unemployment rates. The highest unemployment rates. And then they say it's Trump's economy. They make the same argument. Like, Illinois, by the way, was at a point where its state credit rating was almost junk bond. So it's the only state in the country that has a triple B credit rating. If it got any lower, it would be junk bond credit rating. So it's actually really interesting. Illinois moves closer to becoming the first junk state. You know, like the junk bonds in the 80s, where usually you buy a municipal bond or a state bond, you're like, oh, this is safe. You know, it's you're not going to pay taxes on it. It's Illinois debt is about to be rated junk. What that means? So this is 2017. Typical Democratic-run states. Fantastic. S&P Global Ratings has warned the agency will likely lower Illinois' creditworthiness to below investment grade. Wow. It's really good. Pritzker and all the wonderful Democrats and the mayors of they're so smart. They're so wonderful. The outlook for a deal wasn't good. Okay, so Illinois is on track to become the first U.S. state to have its credit rating downgraded to junk status, which would deepen its multi-billion-dollar deficit and cost taxpayers more for years to come. That's okay. They made up for it by destroying businesses. What is a junk rating? Think of it as a credit score, but for a state or city instead of a person. When Illinois wants to borrow money, it issues bonds. Investors base their decision on whether to buy Illinois bonds on what level of risk they're willing to take. Informed greatly by the rating agencies like Moody's assign. A junk rating means the state is at higher risk of repaying its debt. At that point, many mutual funds and individual investors who make up more than half the buyers in the bond market won't buy. Those willing to take a chance, such as distressed debt investors, will only do so if they are getting a higher interest rate. While no other state has been placed, the junk counties and cities such as Chicago, Atlanta City, Detroit have. Oh, okay, I didn't know that. I didn't know Chicago had it. Detroit saw its rating increased back to investment grade in 2015 as it emerged from bankruptcy. That's right, it went bankrupt. An option that by law states don't have. Wow. Democratic run, just living wage, beautiful. Fantastic, fantastic. Only good, only the good thing. Only, you know what? They run their states into the ground economically, but at least they say the right things and media loves them. Then you have, let's just go to New York Times. So, not Trump's fault. We had record low unemployment nationally before the pandemic, and the response to the pandemic, the response especially from Democratic governors who are still keeping their states closed, is not Trump's fault. In fact, there's a tug of war and there's a battle over how quickly to open up the economy. Trump, for the longest time, has said, look, you know what? I want to open up the economy. And Democratic governors and mayors said, gosh, we just can't. And then they said, look at the food lines. And then Trump said, can we please open up the economy? The food lines. And do you want people to lose their lives? And then Democrats also said, yeah, you know what? Vote in person in Arizona, Illinois, Florida, and Wisconsin in the rain. They voted against Medicare for all and for Biden. So to voting in the state primaries, in this Democratic primary in person was okay. Yeah, it was totally fine. It was totally fine. Even before the pandemic, before the curve had flattened. Totally fine. Totally fine. And so that was before the curve had flattened. This is interesting. So they vote in person, in line, but they definitely don't want you to work because that would be bad. But voting for Biden, in line, in person, very good. Very good. Very safe. Very safe. Very safe. Very good. Excellent. Excellent. Working? No. Are you nuts? Protesting? Very, very good. Very safe. Safe. And then you have Fauci like, give me some more Clorets. I can't tell you what to do in terms of, you can vote, actually. And he actually did good in terms of the voting. He's like, yeah, you can vote. What's the problem? You can vote. Scott Bullion. Michael Moore said Trump's enthusiasm is off the charts in swing states. Yes, Scott, great point. Yeah. But Hollywood, this is the thing. I've been telling Scott, and I thank you so much for watching, and everyone, Scott, everybody here knows this. When I've been saying this, you've been saying this, we all know. We support President Trump. We want the country to prosper. And we see what Democrats are doing. That's a great point, Scott Bullion. Thank you. We've been enthusiastic for the past 4 years. Well, actually, I officially became a Trump supporter 2 years ago. And now Hollywood is trying to hedge its bets, saying, "Oh, well, we might lose again, everyone." And it's like, no, Hollywood's one of the reasons they'll lose. Scott, great point. Great point. And they're finally realizing, hey, it's the swing states that count. Excellent point, Scott Bullion. Thank you. Rich Westlake. I'm going to beat Joe Biden because I'm corn. Thank you, Rich Westlake. Thank you, Scott Bullion. Thank you so very, very much. Scott, thank you as always. Rich Westlake. This is why I say when you think about cornflakes, they can't possibly be serious. That's why at any moment, Madam Secretary is going to save the day. We'll have made the biggest political call of all time. But Rich and Scott, I want to show everyone this, and I'm glad. This is 854 viewers. We're on our way to 1,000 viewers. I don't say this with glee because God bless the people in these states, and I've known only the most amazing people in New York and New Jersey. But listen, this is how media lies. Go to the New York Times, pandemic in the U.S., latest map and case count. Go to the New York Times. They focus on case count to give the impression that a case equals a life lost, which is not the case. It's not at all. In fact, it's pretty much the opposite. The vast majority of the time, you're going to survive. But here, total lives lost. New York, 32,522. They keep on saying the number 182, 180, 170. Okay. Within 2 Democratic-run states that have the highest unemployment rates, you have also the greatest number of lives lost. Scott Bullion! I just evacuated Louisiana and Texas because of the hurricanes, and I've never seen a Biden bumper sticker or yard sign, just Trump's. Thank you, Scott. God bless you. God bless you. Be safe. And I'm living in California. We have earthquakes, but every so often we have an earthquake. The last big earthquake was 25 years ago, about 26 years ago. But even that is nothing compared to what you have to deal with, Scott, and everybody else in Louisiana and other states. I'd much rather deal with an earthquake than a hurricane. Much rather, or a tornado. Hurricanes and tornadoes. Susan, thank you. Scott, be safe. God bless, and thank you so very, very much. God bless you and your family. Thank you, Scott. Rich Westlake. And then Rich, he says, have you ever been to a Democratic primary? I want to say the other word, but I know the algorithm's going to get me on it. I don't say this with glee like the way that Democrats do, but New York has the most lives lost in the entire country. And it has nothing to do with population because Texas has 12,000, has millions of more people, but 20,000 less lives lost. 12,733 people have lost their life. But New York leads the nation in terms of lives lost and also leads the nation in terms of unemployment. 15.9% unemployment. Only Elizabeth Warren's Massachusetts beats New York. So they have 15.9% unemployment. They lead the nation in unemployment, practically lead the nation. And then they lead the nation in terms of lives lost in the pandemic. And nobody in media has put 2 and 2 together. And I'm quoting the Bureau of Labor Statistics and the New York Times. So, Scott, thank you. Rich, thank you very, very, very much. Larry Whitaker! Keep fighting against the system. Get ready for the rough ride when the election is over. Larry, it could be rough. I agree with you. It could be frightening. And this is something I'm thinking like, it's going to be frightening first for the left, then who knows how they react. The big issue is who knows how they react, Larry. The frightening will be amusing at first. The meltdown will be amusing at first. There's not a Trump supporter. 60 million Americans are going to passionately run to the polls early in the morning. And I'm telling you, all 881 people, this is a rock concert. This is the 80s when you had Metallica with a new album out, and you had to go to Tower Records or Music Plus early to get that CD. You have to get there early, very early. Larry, thank you. Did I miss Jimbo? I think I missed Jimbo. Gosh, why aren't I seeing everything? Hi-Fi Trucker! I just moved back to Oregon. It was great to see a mini Trump rally in my liberal city. Nice! Hi-Fi Trucker, thank you very much as always for watching and your generosity. Thank you, Hi-Fi Trucker. Nice! Trump rally in Oregon. I mean, there's an outside chance that Oregon could go Trump. I don't think it will, but you never know. Hi-Fi Trucker, thank you. Minnesota's going Trump, and I've been saying this for a while. Most of the counties in Minnesota went to Trump in 2016. Most of the counties went to Trump in 2016, so Hi-Fi Trucker, thank you very, very much. Larry, thank you. Cody Corolla! Dem say Orange Man bad and Build Back Better. Exactly. Versus Republicans. We have done and will do again with the economy. I'm voting Trump 50 years, and Biden hasn't done. Not about to suddenly change. Cody, thank you. Yeah, I think it's going to be Clinton eventually, but if it's Biden, there's no chance. Cody Corolla, 50 years? 50 years. You do something for 50 years, anything, any business. You're known for? You should be known for something. What is Biden known for? Aside from, no wonder the Lincoln Project loves him. What is Biden known for? What is he accomplished that you can say? President Trump, record low unemployment before the pandemic. And this is like, you have to judge the president prior to the pandemic. There is nothing that President Obama or Clinton would have done. Anything that Trump did, travel restrictions they opposed. So one would assume that what? President Obama or Clinton wouldn't have implemented travel restrictions? That would have been bad. He was implementing travel restrictions and had a task force in January. Late January. That's a fact. You want to know another fact and a lie they tell? That New York's governor handled the pandemic. What a lie. On March 1st, he tweeted out, the risk remains low for the people of New York. There's no reason for undue anxiety. Well, there was reason for anxiety, and the risk remained low. Where are the fact checkers? Why didn't they check these facts? That's right. Larry Whitaker. Larry, thank you very, very much. Support your state and state congressmen and Senate candidates, especially in swing states. That's right, Republican. Support out-of-state House and Senate runs, too. Don't have to live in that state to help. I agree with you on that, Larry. I agree with you on that. That's a very, 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 very good point. That's a very, very, very good point. And especially in the Senate, because we need more Supreme Court judges to protect the Second Amendment and the First Amendment. Jimbo, I finally saw you. Jimbo, to my Australian crew, headed by Jimbo, leader of my Australian crew. Great live chat numbers, HA, well-deserved. Thank you, Jimbo. We're picking up steam. That's why I don't do too many segments every day, because I'm like, because the way YouTube runs, Jimbo, if I do too many segments, I'm just afraid they won't notify everyone. So that's the issue there. Jimbo, thank you so very, very much. But when things heat up, Jimbo and everybody here, I'm going to start doing a lot more segments. Paul Bartlett! To my Australian crew, thank you very, very much. Jimbo and Paul, the two leading members of my Australian crew. Mad Cow Mark also. Paul, thank you so very much for your kind words and for your generosity always. And Jimbo as well. Paul, thank you very, very much. It means a great deal to me. Paul. Thank you very, very much. Especially your kind words. I appreciate them. But Paul and Jimbo and Larry and Hi-Fi Trucker, I don't say this with glee or happiness like the way Democrats, they're like 170, they're touching themselves in ecstasy. It's like, it's not Trump's fault. You can say that all you like. You can call Trump a con man. This is the thing. Note to every comedian, this is a message to every comedian and to every Hollywood celebrity. Trump supporters do not care what you think about anything. It could be about a debate, who's the best player of all time. I'm going to say Michael Jordan in basketball. I don't really care what you think. Okay, I don't care what you think. I don't care what celebrities think about anything. They're there to entertain. That's it. Their life is devoted to pretending that they're other people, to fabricating emotion, to acting. Their entire lives are dedicated to being people that they aren't. So why would I care what they think about anything? If I want moral guidance, I will use basic logic or do my own research. I don't need obsessive fact-checking journalists that are never voting for President Trump and spin. Even the fact-checking is spun out of control. It's not fact-checking anymore. It's a rebuttal. A rebuttal to a point is not a fact-check. Simply saying that's not true because there's another, you can refute that with another point of view is not a fact-check. But it's pretty unbelievable. Tammy Eaton. Clinton was and always will be an unpopular candidate. She's unlikable, ditched states she thought were going to her. Exactly. Tammy, exactly. I just think that they don't care. I just think that it's a political machine, and in terms of the momentum, in terms of the gravitas, but I do agree with you, Tammy. Thank you. Tammy Eaton, thank you. Old school dad man, HA, you sound Texan. Nice. I didn't know that. Old school dad man, thank you. Tammy, old school dad man, thank you. Cody Corolla, he's known for making his... Cody Corolla. Wally Pop, do you worry about... Wally Pop. Let's see. I don't. Wally Pop, thank you, Wally Pop, thank you. Luke St. Martin, thank you. Yes. Eric H526, Luke, thank you. I don't say this with glee, and this is why you should never trust a celebrity for anything. You should never, and look, and the obsessive compulsive fact-checking maniacs. New York leads the nation in lives lost. It is run only by Democrats. It practically leads the nation in unemployment. This is not Trump's fault. They have New York mayors, New York governor, New York senators. The majority of the representatives, the vast majority, are New York, are Democrat. Democrat mayor in New York City, Democrat mayors throughout the state, Democrat governor, Democratic Party senators, and they lead the nation, according to the New York Times and the Bureau of Labor Statistics, in lives lost from the pandemic and unemployment. Not Trump's fault. New Jersey has 15,933 people who've lost their lives. If you add New York and New Jersey, you get close to 40,000 people who've lost their lives in two states. And we have 180,000 who've lost their lives around the country of 320 million Americans. That's another thing. That's another way that media lies. Like, 1,000 people or 4,000 people or this number of people every single day. We have 320 million Americans. We're the third most populous nation on the planet. And we have Democratic-run states where governors have run their states into the ground, both financially and in terms of the pandemic. That's not Trump's fault. Trump runs New Jersey and New York. No, he doesn't. So California is actually doing a lot better than New York and New Jersey, but they have 12,000, so they're third. But you look at Texas and Florida have 20 million more people, 20 to 30 million more people than New York and New Jersey. Let's see. New York, New York has 10 million less people than Texas, and around 10 million less people than Florida, and it has 20,000 more lives lost. Okay. Then you have Massachusetts has 9,000. Massachusetts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sixth in the nation in terms of aggregate numbers of lives lost. And they lead the nation in unemployment rate. This is Trump's fault? Not Trump's fault. Elizabeth Warren should be doing something for the people of Massachusetts. They're sixth in terms of overall lives lost in the pandemic, according to the New York Times, and number one in the country in terms of unemployment, at 16% unemployment, over 16%. Illinois has triple B bond rating, almost junk bond rating, and has one of the highest unemployment rates in the entire country, and also has one of the highest numbers of lives lost. And Pritzker and the wonderful Democrats in Illinois had a primary where people voted in person. How many people got sick voting in person? And this was before, I think, a mask mandate. During the Democratic primary, simply to kick Bernie to the curb, like I knew they would. Then you have Pennsylvania, one of the top, and Michigan, 7,740 people who've lost their lives, and then Michigan, 6,747 people who've lost their lives. This is Trump's fault? No, it's not Trump's fault. So media lies. I love when they're like, you lied, Trump. It's like, you lie all the time. You deceive all the time. You mischaracterize all the time. April! Paul, thank you again. I have to thank you, Paul and Larry. Thank you. Paul Bartlett, and also for the kind words, Paul. You're always writing the most kind things, and they get me pumped up, and I just want to thank you. April Christman, thank you. Thank you so much. Wondering what you think about what's happening in my beautiful state of California. I want the state to open up again. I want to get a haircut. And the way Democrats in media are like, oh, you want a haircut? You want a haircut? It's like, it's not, no. Just wanting a haircut doesn't mean that you want people to suffer. They paint everything in the most absurd way. The state needs to open. April, thank you. Larry! Wow, thank you, Larry. Larry Whitaker, thank you very, very much. Eric, I got to get the Flowbee also. I don't know how you cut your hair. But remember, you're too young, Eric. But who remembers the Flowbee? Larry, thank you. Paul, did the Flowbee get to Australia? Who remembers the Flowbee in the 80s? Larry Whitaker. Note to self, HA, remind myself to support swing state, House, and Senate races. Each live stream must deliver knockout to encounter mail. That's right. Mail-in. That's a great point. Larry Whitaker makes a great point. That's a great point. That is a fantastic point, Larry. And it's true. I think there needs to be an emphasis. And Larry, Mitch McConnell he needs you. Mitch McConnell should contact Larry Whitaker, because that's a fantastic point that hasn't been addressed. Every Trump supporter, every person supporting President Trump should support, like in Larry, in Michigan right now, you have an amazing candidate. You have John James. Gary Peters, John James are for class U.S. Senate. So you mean John James has to win big time? We need John James to win big time. African American veteran of this country. He's awesome. He needs to beat Gary Peters. He did pretty well 2 years ago. John James, Larry Whitaker is a person we should all support. Larry, thank you very much for your support. My God, thank you. And Paul, thank you as always. Paul and Larry, thank you. Clementine Cooper, thanks HA for your amazing consistency. Thank you, Clementine. Thank you, Rahul. Hello, Rahul. I'm growing. I'm growing it out. What can I tell you? I'm growing it out. What can I tell you? Clementine Cooper, thank you so very much. I saw Eric H526 with a question mark. Luke St. Martin, do you remember? Who remembers the Floby? Larry, Paul, did it get to Jimbo? Did it get to Australia? Floby. Oh my gosh. Yes. It's basically a vacuum cleaner with blades. I think it was developed by MIT or NASA. And it's fantastic. It is just the best way to cut your hair. Floby. Oh my God. How is this even possible? I'm looking right now. It's basically a vacuum cleaner with blades inside, so the hair is sucked up and then cut off. I'm trying to see how this is done. You can actually buy a Floby still. Isn't that interesting? Oh my God, I'm going to order a Floby. This is questions. What lengths will the Floby cut my hair? The Floby cuts hair from a 1/2 inch to 6 inches long. Additional spacers may be purchased. Will the Floby work with any vacuum? Oh, so it actually does work with it. The Floby works with 90% of those vacuums with a hose attachment capability. Wow. So it really did. Okay. Can children use the Floby? Yes, with adult supervision. That's awesome. Wow. I have an older Floby unit. Are replacement parts still available? Yeah, I wouldn't mess with an older Floby unit. That's not a recipe for a good time. Oh, I use the Floby for something else. Wink, wink. I'm freaky like that. Jimbo! I remember something like that. Oh my God. That is just... Oh, I use a Floby sometimes when I'm lonely. Try to get that experience in the Oval Office again. That Floby experience. Sigma Nu UCLA! Adam Silver, NB, for sure, has no control of players. Yeah, I listen to a really wonderful sports journalist, and I've actually read his writing for a long, long time, not just recently. I remember reading his writing about the NBA All-Star break in 2006. His name is Jason Whitlock, and he has a channel now on YouTube called The Outkick. And Sigma Nu UCLA, everyone subscribe to Jason Whitlock. He's awesome. I've been reading his writing, and this is God honest truth. Since 2006, and I know he's been writing a lot longer than that. He's a fantastic sports journalist, and by the way, I don't want to say journalists in general, media in general, like pure public relations. He's been going against the grain or thinking critically for a long time. And he is like, he's brilliant. He's been brilliant. Like I said, I was introduced to his writing in 2006. But like, sports journalism has gone down the tubes, I think. I remember Jim Murray. Jim Murray was the man. LA has some great journalists also still, but Jim Murray was the man in Los Angeles. I love Jim Murray. But Jason Whitlock is fantastic, and he has a channel I want everyone to subscribe to. It's a really good channel, and like I said, it's called The Outkick, and Sigma Nu UCLA. He has a fantastic, like a couple players tried to call him out, and he responds. But he use the word gravitas. He has gravitas. He does because he's been writing for such a long time. I mean, I think he's been writing for well over 20 years. 25 years in sports journalism is pretty awesome. Sigma Nu UCLA, please subscribe to that channel. Bucolic Buffalo, save money, use a bowl sale. Pretty much. But you don't get that, Bucolic Buffalo. You don't get that kind of feel that you do with the Hoover vacuum cleaner, if you know what I mean. Bucolic Buffalo, pretty much. It's pretty much the same. Sigma Nu UCLA, subscribe to that channel. It's awesome. Larry Whitaker, John James, and every swing, exactly. And there's a swing state. I mean, that's a Senate spot that we need. J Spot J, Larry Whitaker, great point. Mitch McConnell should definitely do advocate what you're saying. J Spot J, got to get me some of that Floby experience. Rich, go watch C-SPAN compilation there earlier. Rich Westlake, thank you, Rich. J Spot J, yeah. I can tell you something. The Floby experience is so great. I mean, just make sure that you remove the scissors if you want to do anything else with it. Otherwise, you'll have a bad day. Trust me, I know. But, ladies and gentlemen, you have a situation, people, where I don't call Democrats communists. I don't call them commies. I don't think that is logical. But if I were to adopt the manner in which they express their thoughts and the irrational manner in which they level accusations towards Trump, You could call them all, you can call them communist. But see, that's not rational. So when they say Trump is an authoritarian and a despot, not only is it not rational, they're closer to being they're far closer to being communist than Trump is to being an authoritarian. But I still wouldn't use that word to describe Democrats. An authoritarian, a despot, would not sign prison reform legislation. Generally, an authoritarian would support mass incarceration. Oh, that's right. Who did that? Oh, that's right. Furthermore, an authoritarian and a despot wouldn't want to remove American soldiers from numerous locations, including ending our longest-running military conflict in late February, early March, and ending covert programs to fund rebels. And so you have a situation, ladies and gentlemen, where their logic, they basically have no logic. It's all emotion. And they level these accusations at Trump. 180, 170, 170,000, 170,000. Look at the economy. It's like, well, we had record low unemployment. So what? So what? Look at now. It's like, no, we're not going to play that game. Why are we not going to play that game? Because President Trump has already proven, he's already proved that he can get us to record low unemployment and record highs in the stock market. I agree. I know the stock market is not a good indicator of the health of an economy, but you want to know what is? Record low unemployment. And if you have record low unemployment and record highs in the stock market, you have a pretty good economy. We had record low Black and Latino unemployment. And then you look, New York, New Jersey, California, Massachusetts, Illinois, Pennsylvania, Michigan are the tops in terms of lives lost in the pandemic, according to the New York Times. These are also tops in terms of unemployment. Now you go down the list, Wyoming, Vermont, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Idaho have the lowest number of lives lost. We're talking like 37 people to 212 people to 300, and they have the lowest unemployment. Kansas, Utah, Nebraska, lowest unemployment rates, lowest number of lives lost. These are red states. Blue states have the highest number of lives lost and the highest unemployment rates. This is according to the New York Times. And if you want to talk about population, Texas and Florida have a combined, 30 million people more than New York and New Jersey? Over 30 million people. And a little over 20,000 people have lost their lives. New York and New Jersey, around 40,000 people have lost their lives. That's why they don't talk about aggregate numbers. They never focus on aggregate numbers. It's always slicing and dicing. Cases increased within a week, or then they want to talk about per capita or per 100,000. New Jersey has the highest fatality rate. If you want to, New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, and Connecticut, 1, 2, 3, 4, have the highest number of lives lost per 100,000 residents or citizens. Okay? But you don't get this information. It's in the New York Times. I'm quoting the New York Times. Looking at it right now. Thank God they didn't ask me for a subscription like they do. Washington, D.C. has one of the highest fatality rates. So, the top 4 are New Jersey, New York, Massachusetts, and Connecticut. New Jersey, New York, and Massachusetts, generally almost every major elected official is a Democrat. They have the highest unemployment rates in the country. Almost like 1, 2, 3. And they have the highest fatality rates. And they have the highest number of lives lost. And this is Trump's fault. No, it's not Trump's fault. You can't blame Trump for that. Pete Rose definitely used a Flowbee when he was playing. Yes, Luke St. Martin. Or a bowl haircut. I love Pete Rose. I think he should be in the Hall of Fame. I wrote an article in the Huffington Post sports section that Barry Bonds should be a first-round Hall of Famer, first ballot. Just because Major League Baseball was a willing participant in that era of sports. So that's a whole other story. But yeah, I mean, Pete Rose should definitely be in the Hall of Fame. With everything going on in this day and age, and Sparky Anderson said it best. What he did was bad, but as a manager, not as a player. Now, he should have admitted what took place right then and there. So, like, Bart Giamatti was right initially because Pete Rose didn't admit, right then and there. So Bart Giamatti made the right call. Had he admitted right then and there, I think that he would have been already in Cooperstown. But I mean, we're going on around, 30 years now? 30 years? Close to 30 years now? No. You got to put him in the Hall of Fame. His impact, he's done more for baseball than most other Hall of Famers, or I should say most other players. But anyway, like when you think about Pete Rose, don't you think about like Hall of Fame, most hits? I think he has like the most runs scored, or second or third in runs scored, or anyway. And ladies and gentlemen, did I not tell you really quickly? Did I not tell you that like the message board hoax, the LMNOP would be a negative? They're already obsessing over it. I told you. I said it's going to hurt President Trump. And I told Jordan Sather this during the debate when I basically told everyone it's complete and utter nonsense. I told everybody this. I told everyone this a long time ago. And I lost subs for it too. I remember that I lost subs. I'm like, I'll get those subs back. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going on 2 hours, or heading there. I just want to say first, thank you everybody for Larry Whitaker and Paul and Rich and everybody here. Luke St. Martin, thank you. Eric H526, thank you. Oh, I missed a super chat. Okay. El Deplorable, HA, good. El Deplorable, thank you. El Deplorable, thank you. Thank you. Rich Westlake. What happened to the Louis Gomer video you played every day? That's right, Rich. You remember a long time ago. Oh, my God. Is that what you told your wife? Oh, my God. That was... When you go there, oh, my God. Don't look at me that way. I bet you were looking at your wife and saying the same thing. Mic drop. Oh, my God. Remember that? Paul, thank you. Rich, thank you. Larry, thank you. Luke St. Martin, Eric H526, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael, Michael, thank you. Rahul, thank you. Old School Dad Man, thank you. Everybody here, thank you so very much. God bless. Have a great evening. Have a great day. To my viewers in Australia and the UK and New Zealand and Canada, everywhere, thank you so very, very, very much. Nepal, thank you very much. It means a great deal to me. Tell everyone you know, ladies and gentlemen. We hit, 900 viewers. Let's get to 2,000 viewers. Why not? Why not? Be here tomorrow, 9 p.m., same time, same bat channel, same place, 9 p.m. Pacific, everyone. I have the best late evening live stream in all of YouTube. We're cruising to November 3rd, but we're not hitting an iceberg. This is going to be the most euphoric, amazing moment in U.S. history when President Trump goes up against corrupt intel officials, lying and deceitful individuals within media that just try to paint him and put words in his mouth, paint him as a horrible person. Sam, thank you. Hollywood, Democratic Party that cheated Bernie Sanders. He's going up against everyone, ladies and gentlemen, and he's going to win. He's going to win. He's on pace to win Minnesota right now. He won most of the counties in Minnesota. Give me your thoughts below. Jan Salong, hello. Hi-Fi Trucker, thank you again, Hi-Fi Trucker, as always. Ladies and gentlemen, God bless. To my super chat, thank you. I'll see you tomorrow, everyone. Be here at 9 p.m. Pacific time every night. Every single night, 9 p.m.